There's a question from Tomas here from Gueño. He asks, how did you manage your time in the early days as CEO, and where did you spend most of your time?
I think I spent probably 30% of my time hiring and interviewing. What's interesting is that that's more or less what I still spend today. That actually hasn't really changed. I spent a huge amount of time in interviewing because I just think that that's one of the most important functions of any founder CEO. You want to make sure, and not only necessarily interviewing, but now probably I spend part of that time in looking at the interviewing process and looking at the interviewing system, because you go from interviewing one to setting up systems that will go then do the formal recruiting for you. But if you don't have a system that is actively looking for the right type of DNA into the company, suddenly one day you wake up and you have a bunch of people that are doing something completely opposite, right? So I think the hiring function as a whole was one of the most important ones, continues to be one of the most important ones for me. Beyond that, I think some of the things that have changed, obviously, I was very much in the weeds, really building. I was together with Chris, we were doing product design. We were designing the first app in PowerPoint. Oh, this button should be here. And we picked the color, purple, and we designed the look of the first color. And I wrote the first welcome kit letter. We wrote a letter for our first customers talking about what we were about. And I wrote that letter. Chris wrote a lot of the comms. We both accepted emails from customers and took phone calls from customers in our phones. We still do. I still respond to every single email that I receive from customers, but probably not as much percentage as a bigger percentage as we used to do at the time. And maybe what I'm doing more now than I didn't do that much is now I unfortunately have to do a little bit more managing than before. Before it was almost like, all right, this is what we need to do, go do it. Now it's a little bit more, I try to do that too, but it's a little bit harder. I do have to spend more time with people, with different teams across the company trying to manage that. But, and I guess the last part really was investors and fundraisers and let's call it external counterparts. These were regulators, these were partners like MasterCard, these was investors. I think a big percentage of what a founding CEO needs to be doing is selling. And you're always selling. You're selling former employees or potential employees. You're selling to regulators. You're selling to investors. You're selling to partners. Our project was pretty ridiculous for a lot of people. Like a lot of people were thinking we need a banking partner. We probably talked to 20 banks in Brazil. They all said no. We needed a credit card network. There were two options. MasterCard said yes. The other one said no. So it's almost like if MasterCard said no, we were done. There are some clear points of failure when you're like between life and death. Regulators happened to like the idea, and they were very positive when we talked about competing with the big banks. They could have taken a different approach and said, no, we don't want that. And the story would have been different. So I think a lot of what was just really, really consistently selling the vision, the mission, the culture, the project to a lot of internal, external counterparties. And even now, that continues to be a big part of the role.